So Germany isn't a country you can sum up in one story. I mean, you can ask 10 travelers and you get 10 different experiences, from fairy tale castles along the Rhine to the train zipping at 300 kilometers per hour to the quiet stillness of a Sunday when every shop is closed. So today I want to take you past the postcards and headlines into the real Germany, the side you notice when you slow down and pay attention. In this video, we will cover 6 detailed points that will shape your German experiences. We'll talk about where to go beyond Berlin and Munich. We will also discuss the best seasons to visit, where to stay, how to understand the culture, and how to get around as a tourist. So we'll also discuss the budget-friendly ways to see the country, and lastly, we will discuss the practical tips that will make your trip way smoother. So I'm your Obrane as always. Welcome back to my channel. So let's talk about where to stay when you get to Germany. You know, the country offers a mix of different accommodation styles. They have big chains, so if you value predictability, Germany's major cities have all the international names you would expect. You have Hilton, Marriott, Holiday Inn, Radisson Blu, even the Ritz-Carlton. These are usually right in the city center or close to the major train station. So that means what you are paying for here is convenience, professional service, and consistency. And the only trade-off is that the atmosphere could feel the same way as anywhere else in the world. So if you're on a budget change, like you're looking for something more affordable, look at Motel 1 or Ibis or B&B hotels. You know, Motel 1 is especially popular in Germany with over 50 locations across the country. Their rooms are compact but very stylish, and they usually have many generous breakfast service. You know, Ibis hotels are found everywhere from Cologne's Old Town to Frankfurt Airport, and this time you won't get luxury, but you will get a clean room with free Wi-Fi and an easy access to transportation. So that's exactly what you need if you are spending most of your time out exploring. They also have guest houses, so if you're a type of person who prefer something more personal, family-run guest houses are everywhere. So in the Black Forest, for example, they have Son or Pension Williams, which welcome guests with hearty breakfast and local advice on hiking routes. And many guest houses are modestly priced, and they come with different traditional touches like wooden balconies, lace curtains, and homemade jams at breakfast. So there are numerous pretty ways to experience local hospitality and culture without spending too much of your money. So there are quirky options in Germany with full of unusual stays such as castles, the monasteries, and medieval homes which have been turned into hotels. All these are known as Schloss hotels. You know, these are found across the country. And the standard example is Schloss Hotel Bramberg near Frankfurt. So it was once a royal place, but now a luxury hotel. On a more affordable level, in regions like the Mosel Valley of Bavaria, you'll find small castles that double as wine estate. This is where you can sleep in historic rooms and wake up to the vineyard views. And these options turn an ordinary night stay into a memory you will talk about long after the trip. Vacation rentals are also another popular choice, especially if you are traveling as a family or a group. On Airbnb and local platforms like Faro Direct, you can find everything from your modern city apartment in Berlin to rustic chalets in Bavaria. And renting gives you more space, you know, offering a kitchen to cook in and the feeling of living like a local. It's also a good way to save money if you would rather shop at local markets and prepare your own meals instead of eating out every day. So when it comes to regional pride, Germans often identify with their city or state before the country as a whole. You know, Bavaria, Saxony, Hamburg, each has its own traditions, different food, and its way of speaking. So for example, mention Oktoberfest in Hamburg and you will likely be corrected. That's Munich, not here. And there's no rudeness, no, it's just their pride. You know, locals appreciate it when you notice and respect this distinction. When it's Sundays, they are truly for rest. Shops, including supermarkets, are closed by law, and restaurants and cafes are usually open. But if you forget groceries, your only option is a pricey kiosk at a train station shop. And I learned the hard way my first Sunday in Berlin, walking around hungry with nothing open. So locals usually use Sundays for walks, family time, and visiting parks and museums. So if you are traveling, treat it as your slow day and a planned activity that don't require shopping. For tipping, it works differently than in many countries. You don't leave money on the table, instead you round up the bill when paying. So if it's 17 euros, you might say make it 20 euros. And a 5 to 10% tip is just normal thing. And it's seen as a sign of gratitude rather than an obligation. So once you get used to saying the final amount out loud, it feels natural, and the warm Dankeschön you get in return makes it worth it. So for soreness and nudity, this one shocks many newcomers. You know, German sonnets are nude by default, and everyone, regardless of age or body type, they all use them this way, and nobody makes it awkward. So sonnets is all about wellness, but not necessarily appearance. So they solely focus on hygiene and realization. So you bring a towel to sit on, shower before and after, and keep your voice low. My first visit was nerve-wracking, but after 5 minutes, I realized how normal and friendly it felt. If you're open to it, it's a uniquely German experience that's worth trying. So about getting around in Germany, their transportation system has a strong reputation. It's efficient, well-connected, and generally reliable. But it's not perfect, you know, and knowing how to navigate both the perks and the frustration will save save you a lot of time, money, and stress. So talking about the trains, the backbone of German travel is Deutsche Bahn. So whether you're hopping between cities or exploring smaller towns, the train network can get you almost anywhere. There are high-speed ICE trains, that's Intercity Express, that connects at a speed of 300 kilometers per hour. Sitting in one feels like a bit like flying on the land. They are smooth, quiet, very, very fast, and they cost more than the slower trains. But if you're short on time, they are really, really worth it. So a trip from Berlin to Munich, for example, takes about 4 hours instead of 7 to 8 hours. If you know your travel dates, book your ticket in advance because prices rises the closer you get to the departure, and booking early can save you 50% or more. So for example, from Berlin to Munich ticket might be 30 euros if booked a month ahead, but you're going to pay 120 euros on the day of your travel. So if you are traveling in a group or maybe you will stay for a bit longer period of time, get yourself a regional ticket like the Bayern tickets and a group savings because it's one of the best money saving hacks. For a fixed price, you and a group of friends can travel unlimited distances within the state all day long. The trains are also famous for punctuality, but ironically delays are common, especially on long distance routes. So it's a good news, if your delay is over 60 minutes, you can apply for compensation and get part of your fare refunded. But the bad news is the process involves filling out a form. You need to be waiting for weeks and weeks for a refund to arrive. If you also want a tighter budget or not in a hurry, long distance buses are a great option. And this is where FlexBus comes in. It's the biggest player when it comes to buses. So it's cheaper than trains and surprisingly comfortable. Though the journeys might take longer, but they also offer night route which saves on the night accommodations. So in smaller towns where trains don't run frequently, local buses are essential and they are usually punctual. But you need to remember to buy your ticket beforehand. You can get it from machines or any of their kiosks since not all buses sell tickets on board. So one area where Germany is strict is their ticketing. You know, the system often relies on trust with no gates or barriers at stations. But don't be fooled into thinking nobody checks because conductors appear randomly. And if you don't have a valid ticket or if you forgot to stamp or validate it before boarding, the fine is steep. You are going to pay 60 euros on the spot. And I once saw a passenger get fined right in front of me and no excuses were accepted. So it doesn't matter if you just forgot. Rules are rules. The lesson is always double check that your ticket is stamped before you board the bus or train. To use the transportation system in Germany, you will also need your Deutsche Bahn official app, and it's essential. You can check real-time train schedules, delays, platform changes, and even buy tickets directly. And it also covers many regional buses and trams, so it's more than just trains. So in places like Berlin, Munich, or Hamburg, it's usually cheaper to buy a day pass instead of a single ticket. So if you are moving around a lot, a day pass also covers bus, trams, and subways within the same network. But you need to note this: trains and buses fill up quickly on Friday afternoons and Sunday evenings as people travel for the weekend. So if possible, travel outside those windows for more space and cheaper fares. Let's get to some practical tips you come across daily whilst in Germany. When it comes to punctuality, it matters so much in Germany. In Germany, time is treated as a form of respect. So being late even by 5 minutes can be seen as careless. So if you're meeting someone and you realize you'll be delayed, it's polite you call or text the person. Trains and buses also reflect the same value. You know, they are expected to run on time and people plan their days around it. So you need to show up promptly and you will instantly make a very good impression. Handshakes are also a standard greeting in Germany. You know, it's a go-to greeting in most settings, from business meeting to casual introductions. So you should be firm, brief, and paired with an eye contact. A limp handshake can be read as a disinterest, whilst avoiding eye contact can feel so unfriendly. Then in group settings, it's polite to greet and shake hands with everyone, not just the host. In Germany, the use of titles and formal addresses is very, very important. You know, Germans take formality seriously, especially at first. You know, as compared to the UK, you can call people with their first name. In Germany, it's not like that. You use Mr., Mrs., or Miss. They call it Herr or Frau, followed by the last name until you are invited to use the first names. So in writing or emails, this extends to the professional titles like doctor or professor. Switching too quickly to informal address can feel disrespectful, so it's best to wait until the other person suggests it. So public transport is treated as a shared, quiet place in Germany. You know, loud phone calls, music without headphones, or rowdy conversation, they all stand out immediately because the place looks always quiet. And it doesn't mean people never talk, but the general atmosphere is so calm compared to the many other countries. So if you keep your volume low, you'll blend right in. So you just notice that sometimes it's just the small detail that makes the biggest difference when traveling in Germany. But being prepared for them will save you time, money, and awkward moments. So when it comes to carrying cash, Germany is still very much a cash-based society, especially in the small towns like the bakeries and the local shops. Even if you see card readers, some places only accept cash. I once tried to pay 2 euros for a pretzel with a card. The cashier looked at me like I was trying to pay in Bitcoin. So you always carry small bills and coins on you. They come in handy for vending machines, public toilets, or tipping. The There is also a system called refund. Many bottles and cans carry a deposit, usually 25 cents. So when you return them to a recycling machine or a counter, you get your money back. At first, I thought Germans were just obsessed with recycling, but soon I realized it's basically free money if you remember to return your bottles. And this system also keeps streets and parks clean, so which is a nice bonus. So mastering this little thing doesn't just save you from awkward moments, it just makes the whole experience more enjoyable and helps you to connect with people more naturally. So Germany isn't a country you just visit, it's a place you grow into layer by layer. And the first layer might be obvious because you might notice Germany is all about beer, sausages, and Berlin's nightlife, Oktoberfest. But as you spend more time here, you'll notice the quiet rituals, the pride in regions, and how strangers in the beer garden can suddenly feel like friends. So whether your trip is short or long, look beyond the obvious, because Germany rewards curiosity, and you might leave not just with the photos of castles or city skyline, but with a story that feel entirely your own. So if you enjoyed this guide, make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel for more travel insight and real life stories across the world. Mackerel.